there's a huge attack on men in our culture. Mm-hmm. It's an attack for us not to accept responsibilities as leaders, not to embrace that role, right? Even when I'll take it back to Genesis as well. Notice how when God created Adam in the garden, right? He created Adam in the garden, and he gave Adam the right to name all of the animals. He told him to tend over the garden, which means to work, right? And he told him not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, right? And he gave Adam all of those commands before he created Eve. And when he created Eve, God did not repeat these commands to Eve. Why? Because he entrusted Adam to uphold the moral integrity of his family. He looked to Adam to be the leader, not the domineering leader, not the leader that says you have to listen to me every time I say something. No, he created Adam to lead her well, right? And I think a lot of this toxic masculinity stuff that we see in our culture is giving men an excuse to not lead, giving men an excuse to point the finger at women, giving men an excuse to like be like Adam, right? And I think that's what the enemy wants. And now if the enemy can disrupt our leadership, which he's tried to do from the beginning, he's still trying to do now, right? He can disrupt the family. He can affect how we look at our sisters, and he can affect how our sisters look at us. He wants division. And so this is the reason why you have so many. I saw one woman on the internet talking about destroying the nuclear. Was it this show?
That was this show.
That was this show?
Yes.
That's crazy. Seriously, Tim texted me. I text Tim after that episode. I was on my anniversary with my wife. And I was on a pool, by the pool or whatever at night. My wife was sleeping. I said, Tim, I just watched this episode with you and this young lady, and I applauded him for, like handling her with such care and love, because I feel like that's what she needed, right? And in a lot of ways, Tim led her well. And I think a lot of men are escaping the way we supposed to lead with love, with Christ-like love,
that's good,
gentleness, meekness, right? And so we cannot. And you know what frustrates me? I see so many men in our culture calling women out instead of modeling what they want to see.
Facts. Damn. Explain, bro.
It's like, if you don't model humility, you cannot call a woman out on pride.
Damn.
If you don't model meekness, you can't call her out on a lack of meekness. Right? If you don't model a selflessness, why are you calling women out on being selfish? Right? If you don't model being humble with your finances, why are you calling women gold diggers? It's like we want to call out, but we don't want to model, and that's the opposite of how Christ led. Christ did not come and lead us that way. He didn't come and say stop doing this and stop doing that. No, God condescended and became a man to lead his creation and how he wanted them to live. And if men are going to be like Christ, we have to understand that we cannot be like Christ if we don't lead in the same way.
Right.
We want to lead by attacking women and not modeling what we want to see, and that's just not Christ-like.
And that's just really the opposite of how women even learn in the first place.
How we all learn.
How anybody learns. Yeah. And it's truly, I just really love the way you really broke that down, man. Because it is an attack on our leadership, and us being able to point the finger is the easiest way to measure that we just have an absolute weak culture. That's the easiest way to be a man. Mm-hmm. Is to just point the finger at somebody else and completely relinquish all responsibility, relieve yourself of all accountability from the situation, and just say, look, you are the problem.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And listen, guys, if you watching this, listen, it might hurt. It might be painful. And if so, then you need to go ahead and suck it up, because you needed this. We talking to you. Because, iron sharpens iron. Yeah. Listen, ain't nothing but chisels and pens out today. Matter of fact, we need to get a chisel. That's what we need to put behind you. Yeah. A chisel, a gold chisel, and a big ass pen.
Yeah. No.
Because that's what it's all about. And the thing is, it was something that you mentioned, Ty, which sound guys not understanding, everything that's happening in your life. If you was to sit back and think about what was the inception of it, it all goes back to what's inside you. Every single thing, wherever you are currently, circumstances, whoever is in your life, whatever you got going on, the initial where everything started is all within. And I think it's very easy, just like a fan watches LeBron James or Steph Curry, it's very easy to say, hey, you should have been practicing that shot. Hey, you should have took the last shot. Hey, you should have passed that ball. We all have that in us because what it really is saying is that we know we're talking to the person inside us.
Yeah.
And
we're speaking to ourselves.
I'll also say what gets frustrating for men, and I'll kind of be an advocate in a little bit, is to say that a lot of women, they don't seem to want to take any accountability. And it seems like when a man wants to take a little bit of accountability, the woman's like, yeah, he needs to take accountability. And it seems like, man, we're wearing all of this weight. We're taking all of this burden. You need to take accountability first before I take accountability. So it's this tug of war that's saying, hey, you do your part, then I'll do my part. And now we're competing. But I think if we can recognize the way that God designed us, God designed women as receptive beings.
Yes.
Biologically, the egg is a receptive organism that receives the seed. The man gives the seed. Even biologically, anatomically, the man has to give himself to the woman. The woman receives the man inside of her. And women are responsive by nature. It's almost like parents. You know, if we all have black parents that, they whoop us with the belt and they'll get mad that we scream and cry. Don't be, shut your mouth. I'm like, it hurts. I'm screaming because you hit me. And so we as men are literally whipping and being mad at the scream. Right. We are men that are causing and being mad at the response or the effect of the cause. If we could take our time to say, hey, this is how we've contributed, and this could potentially be a response. Like, okay, these women are doing this. These women are not moving like this. Like my brother said so eloquently, I love that. She's moving in so much pride. But I'm expecting her to move in all this humility when all I want to do is lead in arrogance. All I'm doing is I want her to be subservient, and I want her to be under my control, and I need her to move like this, and I'm not leading and pouring that in for her to give that back. Miles Monroe says that stuff a lot. Like, man, she gives back or gives you back in multiples what you pour in. And so at the end of the day, men, if we realize the way women are designed by nature over time, if we give them the right things, we pour in the right things, then eventually they begin to give back what we pour in.
But see, I think I want to add this in here too, because I think we have a distorted view of what fair is in manhood. Because I don't think...
Break that down.
Because the reality of it is, it's really not fair when it comes to responsibility and accountability. Actually, my mom actually taught me a very important lesson of accountability in manhood that I didn't even know I was learning. Shout out to anybody who was the oldest in their household. You might have learned this lesson too.
Yes, that's it.
My mom only spoke to the oldest.
Wow.
She only gave the rules to the oldest.
That's a good one. Wow.
She'll walk straight up to me and she'll tell me exactly what needs to happen. Make sure nobody don't leave this house. Make sure that person cleans the room. Make sure this happened. Make sure that happened. And make sure this and that happened. My mom comes home. They haven't done what they're supposed to do. I get my ass whooped. And I'm pissed. I thought that was just so unfair. I told them to do it. They didn't want to do this. She did. I told you to make sure that this was supposed to happen. And as a kid, I didn't realize that that's a leadership principle.
Yeah, it is.
Because I was the one that was entrusted with the role, the responsibility, and the instruction from my leader to be able to make sure everything was carried out. And if I was a better leader, then what would have happened was it would have been order, and everything would have gotten done. But because I was half-assing leadership, the jobs were not carried through, and I perceived that as it being unfair that I was the only person that received punishment.
Yeah, no,
and see,
that's
men,
that's good, bro.
We want it to be fair.
Yeah.
We want to be the leaders. We want all the submission. We want all to be entrusted with all of the power that comes and responsibility that comes with a man, but not also the unfair accountability that comes with the manhood.
That was powerful, bro.
Yeah, it's very powerful, because what you just said is literally what happened in the garden.
Yes, sir.
God told Adam all the instructions. Eve came along and ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And when God approached him in the garden, who did he walk up to? Adam. He approached Adam and said, what have you done?
Yeah.
And the first thing he said, the woman you gave me, right? Right?
There's something wrong with this woman.
There's something wrong, but he approached Adam because he gave the command to him.
Yeah.
Right, and he entrusted him with that leadership. You know what I'm saying? And I think what God wants us to do is to be like Christ.
Dang.
Right? It tells what husbands. It's not just related to husbands, just male leadership. But this is in context of husbands. Husbands, love your wives like Christ loved the church. Christ loved the church before the church loved him back, and Christ loved the church when the church rejected him, and Christ loved the church when the church doesn't have anything to give. Right? And so literally that is the role of leadership.
Come on.
Like Jesus came and modeled the perfect leader for us, right? And he died first. And so that's what leadership is. It is dying first. It is dying to your wills. It is dying to your pride. It is dying to your wants in order for somebody else to flourish. Now, what I want to say too, I don't want men to hear me and say, man, you just leaving these women without an excuse. Because I don't think that women should be left without an excuse.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think that, right? Yeah. Because I do think that there are good women who will, like, if we were created for leadership, men, we have to understand that women were created to follow us.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And so if you lead a good woman well, even if she's giving you problems, right? Like if you lead her well, I think that a good woman would follow you if she feels loved, supported, nurtured like Christ, like Christ does us. Mm-hmm. Now you have difficult women. Mm-hmm. And I think that comes with the discipleship that you was talking about earlier. I think that we need women in the church, older women in the church, to check a lot of these women, because there are some problematic, toxic women out there.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
I just don't think it's our role to be calling. I think we just play a different role in women's lives. I think that God created us to model, and I think God created older women to call out and rebuke. And I think that if women don't see that they just like we need, like older men, these women need older women to be like, you tripping.
Yeah.
That's your husband.
Yeah.
You need to respect your husband. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
That goes back to discipleship.
Need us to
Back
help.
to discipleship.
And
yeah.
let's not forget that, yes, men got more requirements. I love the illustration that you gave. That was really
That was-
preacher of you.
that was
That
powerful.
was really fire.